Good evening. My name is Mark Clements, the Artistic Director of Milwaukee Repertory Theatre.
And I'm Rajendra Ramoon Maharaj, the Associate Artistic Producer at Milwaukee Repertory Theatre. It is our pleasure to welcome you to the third week of We Rise, Milwaukee Repertory Theatre's 2021 celebration of Black history.
Tonight is the third of 4 nights of events celebrating and uplifting the contributions of African Americans to theatre. Tonight, we continue our celebration with an event called It Takes a Village.
Tonight's program is a town hall featuring African American arts leaders from institutions all around Milwaukee. You'll get to know more about their missions and visions of these organizations and hear more about their hopes and dreams these leaders have for their work and our city.
We are grateful to these leaders for embodying the same ideals Milwaukee Rep espouses in its mission to ignite positive change, inspire meaningful dialogue, and produce world-class theater. Tonight, during Black History Month, we acknowledge that it takes a village of different perspectives, stories, and voices to create the rich tapestry of the city we know and love.
Thank you all for being part of We Rise, Milwaukee Repertory Theater's celebration of Black history. And before we go, a special shout out to our media sponsor, 88.9 Radio Milwaukee.
Thank you and enjoy It Takes a Village.
Good evening, Milwaukee. Good evening to all of you who are watching us and viewing us from coast to coast. We welcome you to the third series of We Rise, Milwaukee's celebration of Black History Month. Welcome to It Takes a Village, a celebration of Black artists, arts leaders, and arts administrators in Milwaukee. I'm Tammy Belton Davis, the Chief Diversity Officer here at Milwaukee Rep.
And I'm Rajendra Ramoon Maharaj, the Associate Artistic Producer of Milwaukee Repertory Theatre. We'll be taking and speaking tonight to 9 impactful, powerful voices in the Black arts community here in Milwaukee.
We are so excited about our first panel. So I want to welcome Lakita Caldwell of Lumen Schools. Hi. Katina Cole of Empower Theater. Dante Henning of Lights, Camera, Soul, and the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival. And Malkia Stampley of the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival as well. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for being with us tonight. I'd like to start from hearing a bit about yourselves and your organizations. Malkia, why don't we start with you?
Hey, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Tammy and Rajendra, for having us and myself here today. I am with the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival. I was born and raised here in Milwaukee, product of Milwaukee Public Schools, and then a part of the Chapter 220 program, and went to Whitefish Bay and Marquette as well. And then I also studied at Milwaukee Rep and Skylight Music Theater. So definitely homegrown. I love this city. It is my city, and I love to protect it fiercely. And because of that, myself, Dante, Katina, Sherry, Brent Hazelton, and a few other key contributors. We theater festival last year after killing or the murder of George Floyd, among many other things that were happening around the end of May, and just all the conversations that were coming up. Even before the We See You White American Theater letter, there was just this conviction, this call to do something. And all of us that were a part of the team, having worked in the theater, it was like, what else can we do? And also being paralyzed by the devastation of our industry, we knew that whatever we had to do had to be something different. And out of those conversations came the festival. I'm not a politician. I'm not a grassroots organizer or work in other industries. And so I thought I could use my voice or my advocacy through the medium of theater. And that's what we did. We want to amplify Black voices. We lift them up, we're nurturing them, and we're celebrating them through the medium of theater, but also incorporating other genres and other arts influencers. And I'm so proud to represent that organization tonight.
Thank you. DeMonte.
Once again, thank Milwaukee Repertory Theater, and thank you all for having me on this panel. I want to thank every other panelist who is joining me here today. I admire everybody's work, and so I'm just very grateful to be here. Some information about myself. Born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I went to high school at Milwaukee High School of the Arts, was a theater major. I studied theater at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And then I was an intern, what was now called the EPR program, Emerging Professional Residency Program, with the Milwaukee Rep in the 2015-2016 season. And I like to think of that as kind of like the birth of my professional theater career, because after that, I just kind of began to pursue theater really as a career, as a profession. And so I'm very grateful for that. Some information about Lights, Camera, Soul. Our mission is to celebrate the Black experience through the development of emerging theater artists and promoting Black artistry, which is something that we love to do. It's something that is that we've learned has a lot of potential and a lot of talent in this city. And so we just want to continue to promote that and uplift those voices and stories. So thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Lakita?
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Lakita Caldwell. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be with everyone. I am not from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm originally from Paducah, Kentucky, and I moved to Milwaukee in 2001. My mom put me in ballet when I was 3 years old, and I fell in love with the arts. I studied speech communication, minored in theater at SIU, but then was passionate about using art for healing. And I went to NYU and I studied drama therapy my first year and ended up getting my degree in education and theater. And in 2001, moved and worked at the Rep and worked for First Stage Children's Theater. We piloted a program with the Boys and Girls Club, and it was the toughest job I ever loved. And I ended up working at the Boys and Girls Club for 14 years. And now in October, I started a new job exposing more students to the opportunities within the world of the arts at the Lumen Lutheran schools. And our mission is to provide safe Christian schools focused on educational successes and leadership development and spiritual growth. So to be able to bring a new batch of babies and expose them to the arts is super exciting for me.
Katina?
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you. I'm honored. I feel humbled and honored to share this space with all of you this evening, and thank you for the invite. I am Katina Cole. I am the artistic director of Empower Theater Group. I also have a private practice here. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the city of Milwaukee. I also do not come from Milwaukee. I root for the Bears. I started life there, and Milwaukee has adopted me, even though I root for the Bears. And I'm very appreciative of being in this community. Empower's mission is basically, we are a social justice theater group. We were founded for and by survivors, and our focus is on healing, is on advocacy, activism, and awareness.
Excellent.
Thank you.
What an impressive group of artists and activists, and we feel very blessed to have you tonight. Tammy has the first question for the group, and feel free to answer it. There's no, order, just if the spirit hits you, feel free to let it flow. Tammy?
All right, so let's get it started. And again, thank you all. I was certainly excited about this conversation because it is a conversation about arts in our community in honor of Black History Month. So again, thank you all. So I'm going to ask you, and as Rajendra said, whoever wants to respond first certainly can answer this question, is who's been your biggest influence in your art? What's been the biggest influence that has certainly been impactful of your art throughout your career?
Well, I could go first. First, I'll just have to say I followed the career of Dante Mcfadden, and he's been my biggest inspiration. But no, I've really all of the artists here in Milwaukee, the community of Milwaukee, and particularly the Black artists in Milwaukee, they have kept me moving. We have collaborated. We've been inspiring each other. Sometimes when we've been invisible to the larger community, the Black artists here in the Black theater, people here have embraced this small theater company that we've had. Not only are they the inspiration, I shared earlier that I'm a counselor. And when I found out that art could be used for healing, those people that show up to our shows, to our auditions, to question what we're doing, to kind of stay on me when I'm not even in a creative mode, they keep inspiring me. They're continuing to ask for our stories. They're continuing to ask that we are represented, that they are represented. And that just makes me want to keep going and moving and think of more things to do and stay creative. Mm-hmm. So actually, they have been the kick in my pants that I've needed at times where I wasn't feeling like I was appreciated or that we were appreciated or feeling very creative.
I love that. So the inspiration and the influence. Malkia, what about you? Who has served as a great influence in your life?
Yeah, it's always such a question for me because there's so many. I'd say in general, African Americans are the strongest people on the earth. No, hands down, it's just the strongest people. And so I'm always influenced or inspired by the struggle, the story of African Americans, and not, of course, discounting any other groups of Black people or people. But I can shout out my African American brothers and sisters in that way. And second, I would say it's my family, my chosen family, and my birth family, and also a big part of my career in the last several years has been my church family. And I'm not even affiliated with the church currently, but the Black church has spoken into every single thing that I've done in my life, every single thing, even when I didn't realize it. And I realize in the work that I do, my concepts for when I'm directing or the types of works that I'd love to produce, or even pieces that I'm drawn to as an actor, I realize I'm looking back on the people that I went to church with. I want to so strongly and passionately tell their stories. I grew up on 10th and Keith in the hood, 53206, that area, it's near dear to my heart. And so I was going to church with crackheads and prostitutes and the unemployed, those who've been shot. I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot. And my father, as the pastor, has nurtured a lot. And I always felt like these were people who were misunderstood, who weren't represented. And I always felt like it was my job to bring pride to that area. And so they have been the driving force for my career in the last 10 years. But it's my Black family overall.
I love that. And as one PK to another PK, the power of faith and the power of church. And with that transition, Lakita, I have to pass it on to you to say what has been this great influence or inspiration in your life. I know faith plays a role.
That was number one. She took it from me. But number two would be my babies, the voice and the brilliance and just how talented and raw they are. And just to be able to expose art to them and just to see them create their own story and change the narrative of their lives through art. It just inspires me all of the time. I'm just in awe every time they get an opportunity to raise the bar. They do it and they break the ceiling of the bar. And so I get excited excited to see them go to theater places they don't think that they could go to and enter that space and just be excited about it and to create their own work. So it would be church. And I think church for me is to see someone who came in and they may be addicted to drugs and they'll hear his eye is on the sparrow, and just months later their whole life transforms through the word. And it's just to hear the choir sing to a point where I would cry. So that for me, art started in the church. And just, you know, hearing my grandmother, who wasn't an artist, but to hear her tell stories about wringing chickens' necks and how she used to walk to school, and when she would just get up and sing Hallelujah, Thine the Glory. So for me, just sitting in a house full of history and just and seeing our history on stage, I was inspired by that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Dante, influences, what inspires you?
Well, I mean, I think Lakita and Malkia said it, is faith is number one. I think about my family, my wife and my children. I cannot tell you how many times whenever I get a role sometimes, and I'm like, oh, this sounds like my cousin. This sounds like my brother. I'm gonna use that. So I would have to say my family, because, you know, as Black people, we're an expressive, group of people, and I use that and I try to channel that into my own work. And then I feel like everybody has already touched on it, but I feel like it's people in my community. It's the people without a story. It's people that you see when you're driving down the street, when, you know, you're at the store. You know, I wonder what is their story, you know, and so I pull from that. And I think it's also the unheard artists to me. It's the artists who don't get those chances, the artists who keep struggling and keep waiting for that moment to be recognized, to be appreciated. And so part of our mission with Lights, Camera, Soul is to give those unheard voices that voice. And so I find influence in that.
You know, it's so interesting as we speak tonight. I keep thinking about the beauty of why we love the work of August Wilson, Lorraine Hansberry, James Baldwin, you know, because they exhumed the average man and woman who was Black and made them totem poles and elevated them in a white theater that would not accept them. And because they did, they allowed all of us to flourish. So I love that idea of exuding the stories of people from your church, from your corner, the crackhead, the businessman. I feel like that's so true to Milwaukee. And having been here for just 7 weeks, that is something that I've realized that it is really about community and family, particularly in the African-American community. And that spirit is what we hope to continue to invoke tonight. So thank you for your wisdom. That was really very beautiful. I want to ask this next question, and this can be both artistic and personal in its nature. So my question is, how has your mission grown over the years? And we'll start with Dante. Since you went last, we'll reverse it.
Our mission it's always been to develop, you know, the next generation of emerging theater artists. That's always been like our center. But I think it's what has evolved and what has changed is how do we give voice to Black artistry? How do we promote that? And finding programming to promote Black artistry and to talk about those experiences. I think about our podcast, Blacker the Berry, which is a storytelling podcast to help elevate the stories and experiences of Black artists, because I've talked with probably almost every Black actor in the city, and they all have different experiences, good and bad. And so it's an opportunity for them to share those stories, to share those good moments, to share those challenging moments. And so, like I said, our center has always been development of emerging theater artists, but it's just trying to find, okay, how do we uplift that Black artistry? How do we support that? And it has changed. I mean, we started off as a student organization at University of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and at Alverno, and we've been around since 2013, and it has grown and it has developed. But I do feel like we are in a place where we have a strong mission, and now it's just about implementing that mission and making sure that we can reach as many artists as possible. So.
That's beautiful, especially after the year we have all had these last few
Yeah.
years. My God. Lakita, what are your thoughts on that? Your personal or your professional mission? How has it grown over the years?
So my personal mission is to give opportunity to young people to have their voices heard at a high impact. So I'm on fire for that. And just to show them that people will listen to their voices, because I think about the reason why that is my mission is because when I hear young people say that they feel like that no one listens to them or their voices don't matter, that really fuels my flame. That no matter, I try to teach them that you can create the table if there's not a table for you to sit at. And so just giving them those opportunities to remind them that their voice does matter and that people will hear them, and equipping them to be able to cast dreams and visions through their voices, and that the art that they create is beautiful. I get excited about it. Like, I'm very passionate about having their voices heard and creating platforms for people to see them as the brilliant, resilient young people that they are.
I love that. And I have to say that, the youth that I've met here of all walks of life are just so beautiful and so talented. I mean, from rapping to, poetry to dancing, there's just so much spirit and heart. And we all know that we've benefited from people in our lives putting that spotlight on. When you see people who look like you doing something that you imagine, it becomes realer. Malkia, what are your thoughts on that? How has your mission grown over the years, personally or professionally, with your organization?
Yeah, well, the Black Theater Festival, we're entering our second year, so we're still working on the first mission, the first draft. But personally, as a performer, I've lived in Chicago and New York, and then when I came back to Milwaukee for a long stint in 2012, I came back kind of. I had rose tinted glasses. I didn't quite see. I didn't realize the lack of representation. I didn't realize the things that the Milwaukee was missing. And when it came to theater, that I saw so much in Chicago and New York. Virginia, as you know, and as we all know, just the diversity that can exist in other places. And so I came together with several others. Sherry, who'll be on this a little later, and we started a theater, Brownsville Arts Ensemble, where she is artistic director. And with that theater, my voice happened. I didn't have the voice that I have now. Back then, I had opinions and things, but it was me moving back to Milwaukee and seeing that something needed to be done that changed me. Something changed. It's like something broke in me, and I'm so grateful for it. And since then, I've started directing, I've started producing. It was having a person like Lakita in my life, someone to say, if you don't see this happening, then you do it. I was challenged by that by one of my dearest friends, Gavin Lawrence, who's an actor and company member at American Players Theater. And he challenged me with that, up one night, just complaining about, you know how we actors do. We can fix the whole universe in one night conversation. And he ended that night with, so what are you going to do about it? And I guess I'd never been asked that before. And that pivoted. There was a pivot, and I've not been the same since. And so I'm always asking that question to myself and to others who are complaining. I want to empower those, not complaining because it's not complaining, but calling things sometimes just as they are. And so in doing that, I felt emboldened to not accept everything that's thrown at me just because I've been emboldened to speak up for people when it's uncomfortable, to advocate for myself, and to produce things that I'm not seeing, and now to write stories that I want to see. And so that has pushed me, but it was because of people like Lakita. Meaning like the work that you do, Lakita, and you're such a cheerleader, and Katina and DeMonte, Tammy, Rajendra, all of you on this call have poured into me and have believed in me. And I needed that. And it was those pushes, those little seeds that changed my life. And now it's my turn to put those seeds in people.
Wow, the church say amen. That is amazing. And it makes me emotional because I think somewhere in the world, Annette Carroll is smiling, the first Black woman to direct on Broadway, at you, her prodigy, her dream, because I knew you as an actor. And now to see you be, as Walt Whitman says, the multitudes of your Blackness, the multitudes of your womanhood, it is so exciting. Okay, it just makes me so proud. And I have to say, when we worked together, you were all about Milwaukee. I mean, I remember you love this city. Trust folks, she loves this city. I know a lot of people around the world are watching right now. And when someone says they love their city, Milwaukee is the bar for loving this city. So thank you, sister. Katina, what are your thoughts on how has your mission grown over the years, both for your organization or personally, that you'd like to share with us?
I think for us, Empower Theater was founded with intention of trauma survivors in mind. Just a little background to that, I was in the Vagina Monologues. I wasn't formally theater trained, but I played the angry vagina there. And I realized how you could be an activist with theater. And the following year at UWM, I requested to direct it. Didn't know what I was doing, but what I wanted to make sure happened was that it was exposure to the community that would normally see the Vagina Monologues, the community in which I live. Also, I requested at that time that that UWM would allow community members to be part, not just actors, not just students, but open it up to the community. At that time, we had the largest and most diverse cast that had ever performed the Vagina Monologues in the last, at that time, 15 years. We had at about 70% people of color. As a result of that, someone came up to me and said that I should do an all women of color version of the Vagina Monologues. And I said, that's a great idea. I didn't know where to get started. And when I agreed, I said I had to have a name. And that's where Empower was formed. But as a result, I was like, I didn't know where to start. And when I put out the call out there for women that were interested in doing this, 30 women showed up, most of them without an acting background. And then I began to see how much theater was important to the community. Also, how that many of those women, when they worked with us, told their own vagina monologue, told their own trauma stories, was able to be in touch with telling someone else's story and telling their own at the same time. So it began to show us that theater and art could be healing as well. So what we did expand in the last few years was making that and realizing that there are intersections that are in the community. So we have performed shows and included the LGBTQIA populations. We have included Black men that have endured racial traumas. And we just keep going and going and going. Another important thing for me personally in the journey is that I always thought I was the Lone Ranger. And I began to collaborate and thankfully be embraced by the Black theater artists in my community, where I didn't feel alone because I didn't have to be alone. And I'm staring at many of them right now for embracing me, just a community member that happened to be a little creative. And I really do want to take the time to thank you, Dante, Malkia, and Lakita, because all of you have been part of Empower's journey and mine personally.
You know, that's so beautiful, sister, because I think sometimes we forget to say thank you while people are here, to give them their roses. And if anything we've learned from Breonna Taylor, from Trayvon Martin, Fidel, like all these different folks that have passed, our ancestors, is to say thank you. And I feel like there's such a sweet spirit among this group. Mm-hmm. And if this is the example of Black leadership in Milwaukee, I can tell you, coming from Brooklyn, coming from working at some of the top regional theaters, this is not always the case. So I want to salute you, because it's important to uplift each other. And when we say Black Lives Matter, it's also saying to each other, you matter, and I see you, and your story matters. And so I just wanted to take a moment and point that out, because it is not always the case. And it's so beautiful, the spirit among all of you tonight. Tammy, you've got the next question.
Rajendra, you are so right. And this conversation with this group and others that we will talk to a little bit later, it really is a spirit of community that I think is a part of the DNA of Milwaukee. So certainly there's a lot of challenges that face our city. I choose to believe all of the greatness that exists here, all of the triumph, all of those who are grinding and working for change in our community. And these folks that are a part of this discussion today, I know personally that they are in the trenches doing the work on behalf of this city, and we are grateful for them for that work. And so I want to ask you, as we talk about, and I think about years ago, there was conversation about changing the narrative in Milwaukee, about how do we start telling stories that uplift and encourage and inspire about our city. And so my question to you all is, why is theater a great game changer? A great game changer that builds community. So as we're talking about lifting each other and lifting the stories that matter through the art, how do we see theater being that great game changer for how we continue to build community? And I'm going to ask Katina to start, because I think what you started to talk about with your mission and your organization's mission really gets to the heart of it. So please, how do you see it as a great game changer?
Well, the first thing that I think of when you mention game changer and how it exists here is to be seen, to be recognized, to be heard. Someone made a statement to me when we did our first production that you're taking this a little bit too seriously. They then continued to say, it's not like this would be at the Milwaukee Rep. Which is ironic right now that I'm sitting here with you all. But I think that's where it begins. They didn't see us being seen by the larger theater companies. They didn't see representation in the programming and in the resources and affordable tickets and all of these things that are barriers for people in the community for some of the larger theater companies. It's not that they don't want to see art. They want to see their stories. They want it to be affordable. They want to see representation. They want to see more of us going into the communities and sharing that it's a benefit to get dressed up and walk into a Milwaukee Rep or to walk into a Milwaukee Chamber Theater. And we need to do better as a community, that there's access and there's representation, and actually in every area, not just shows, but in leadership, but in programming, but in resources, but in going out into these individual communities that maybe can't afford a theater ticket, or families that cannot afford that, and find ways to make it accessible, make it equitable, because our community deserves it as well, deserves to have that theatric experience.
Absolutely. So building on that, how, as we continue to look at theater as an opportunity to build and strengthen communities, how do we do that? How do we keep that moving forward? Lakita, I'm going to pass that on to you.
I think a lot of the projects I've done with my students, I would not have been able to do it had it not been for the Katinas, the Montes, the Sherry Williams, the Pannell, the Makias, because, you know, as an arts budget, with youth funding, you don't get a lot of money for arts. And so there are people who say, we believe in this project. We know you can't pay us what we normally get, but they said yes to the project. And so it's the community that give the kids a high level arts experience that they deserve. So I'm so grateful for people who say, yes, the money isn't there, but believe that the money will come. And not just the money, but the seeds that they're planting inside of the youth, inside of the people who participate. And again, we may not be able to be in theaters that we can't afford everything for the theater to be in a luxury theater, but we can give them an opportunity to make them feel like it is. I just think about the opportunity where my babies had the opportunity to perform with the Quadrachi Powerhouse, and when they were working with the tech people, they were so excited about that opportunity to have witnessed the show, but to actually the dance team performed on that stage, and it just boosted their confidence, and now they want to go to shows all of the time. So just saying yes and trying to figure out ways that we can work together and that we can partner together. And so I'll help my Keo with this project and she helps me with this project. And it just builds such a strong community, and it shows that we matter. And that arts are important for everyone. And so sometimes we just have to bring everyone to the table and say, I can give a little bread, I can give a little milk, and we all get fed. And that is what I've seen across the board with all the projects that seem impossible. People come and say, I'll help you make it possible on behalf of the baby. So I have to say thank you for that community that has my back all of the time when the project seems impossible.
I love that.
So beautiful. And Damonte and Malkia, we'd love to hear from you guys. We have two more questions we want to ask, this one and another one. So, we're about 8 minutes to go. So that's what they tell me in my ear. But Damonte, you're up, sir. What would you like to add to that? What's the great game changer in building?
I mean, Lakita, I love what you said about just saying yes. And I think that is incredibly important. I can't tell you that. I remember watching the BET Awards in 2003, and I saw James Brown on stage, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I feel like that seeing somebody who looked like me on stage was so powerful. It was such a confidence boost. And so I can completely relate to your students, how they felt when they were on stage in the Quadrachi Powerhouse, just saying yes and just understanding that change is possible, but we have to be able to work together as a community. And I think that is what's important. I think that theater has the potential to change lives. It's something beautiful about being in the same space, experiencing something live at the same time. It's different than film, where they show you what you can see. There's something just real and just organic and from the heart that you can feel it. That actor is on stage telling you that story. You can feel their energy. And I feel like there's a more visceral and honest reaction that audiences get when they leave the theater as opposed to leaving a film. So I think the theater definitely has the potential to change. It's changed my life. It's changed so many other people's lives that I know. So yes, and.
Great. Thank you. And Malkia, why don't you wrap us up? The great game changer being theater. How do we build community around that?
Okay. I have a lot of different thoughts, but I'll try to be quick. I think the way that theater I'm going to shift this towards the community and towards resources. How can we make theater a game changer in our community? I think there needs to be a huge effort among our philanthropists and those who give small amounts, large amounts, in uplifting and empowering our organizations that work with emerging artists. And when you do that, there's nothing better. I think you want audience members who know how things work. And so instead of, we've done shows like Black Nativity. We had a school come, Metcalf came, and the kids were asking, is this a movie? Because they didn't know that the actors on stage were actors. It was so foreign to them. But if we need another African-American children's theater. We need more money thrown at Lights, Camera, Soul and Empower Theater. Our emerging artists, like I am still emerging, will grow up to lead. they will grow up to start their organizations. And so we have to give funding to them. And when we do, then we're widening the pool of actors. Milwaukee is not a city that people typically move to act or perform. That's not the city. That's not New York or Chicago, where you can expect everyone to get a degree in theater. And so I think of my babies, if I could have babies in the theater, would be those who are 50, 60, 40, and 30 years old who want to do theater and who haven't had the chance to. And I've been able to give those kind of people chances, people who just need an opportunity. And so when we have more organizations like our Hansberry Sands or People's Theater or Color Lines Theater in the past, African American Children's Theater, Brownsville Arts Ensemble, I can go on and on. When we empower those places, then we can have people who can play roles in August Wilson's Fences. We have people who can fill a house, and you don't have to hire them from New York. We have to grow our talent, and not just the youth, but our adults. They are hungry. They want to transition into theater. Those who are retired, they want to practice. They want to try this. So let's give them a chance, and let's throw some money at Lights, Camera, Soul and Empower Theater so they can give that work to them.
Wow. Well, I have to say, everything you have spoken tonight, I hope has reached everyone in Milwaukee and the nation, because I know that I have felt it. I am definitely stirred. As living ancestors for the generations yet unborn and those generations with us, so much has happened in the world of theater and our country. As we wrap out in our final 3 minutes, I want to hear from each of you just the answer to this. One hope and one dream for the American theater. One hope and one dream for the American theater. And we'll start with Lakita.
I hope to see more representation. I dream where it doesn't have to just be Black History Month where we see the representation.
Amen. Katina. Yeah.
I'm here. I'm technology challenged at times. Lakita, you took it from me. As far as my hope is that, or my dream is that it's not just that we're called on in February. My hope is that everyone that you see represented here, in particular in Milwaukee and with the history of theater companies not being supported and failing here in Milwaukee, that I will see all of us still here, still thriving in theater for years to come. Because unfortunately, that hasn't been the case in Milwaukee. So I would love to see Lights, Camera, Soul in 20 more years. I would love to see what Lakita and Malkia are doing in 20 more years.
Amen. Amen. Malkia, same question.
My hope is that for the American theater community is that those who share, internalize, and protect white supremacy and the oppressive nature of it move out the way. I hope that they wake up enough to do it, or I hope that someone wakes up enough to push them out the way. My dream for the American theater community is that we do not look at Broadway, New York, LA, and sometimes Chicago as the center of the universe. There are powerful stories in every city and in every region. And when we stop looking to Broadway and the capitalistic culture of it, then we will be free to celebrate those among us and not look at all of the other shiny things that don't matter.
Amen. And DeMonte, my God, it's like soul sister. I love it.
I gotta follow.
She speaks such truth and such heart, as you could feel her experience, all of your experiences. So thank you here for that. DeMonte, my brother, you have the final word.
I was just talking about this today. I hope that that we can see progress in diversity and inclusion. And I dream that my children in the next generation will not have to struggle to be heard and will not have to struggle to allow people to understand that this fight is real and it has been going on for too long. So that is my dream.
Well, I want to just say that you all have inspired me, Tammy, the entire community. People from around the world are watching this conversation tonight. And what I love about this, and I want people to really, I want the young people who are listening, who are in Milwaukee, throughout Wisconsin, who are sitting in the cheap seats, not knowing that the dream is possible. I want you to take 5 seconds and look at the screen and know that we all came from different journeys. We all came from the crookeds and the straights, as August Wilson would say, but we're here and we're here for you. And so thank you all for being part of this. The struggle continues, but it continues a little softer because we're all together. Godspeed.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for such an inspiring conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are thrilled. Rajendra and I are just absolutely thrilled at this conversation. Stay tuned, stay with us, because we have another panel that is coming up shortly. But first, we want to take a moment to thank our partner for this event, Sam's Place. And for those of you who know me, you're going to know this person who is coming up, who happens to be my dad, Pastor Sam Belton.
Your daddy.
My daddy. I am the daughter of a preacher. I am the daughter of a jazz musician and artist.
Come on.
A historical figure in this city, in this community. We love Milwaukee. I'm a third generation Milwaukeean. And so we want to just give you an opportunity to hear a little bit more about Sam's Place that's coming soon. So stay tuned so you can hear from this story from Sam Belton and Sam's Place.
My name is Sam Belton, a longtime resident of Milwaukee. I was born and raised here in Milwaukee. Right now we're at Sam's Place, Jazz Cafe, located at 3338 North Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive on the north side of Milwaukee. Been a project for about a year. We've been working on it with Beta Philanthropies, and we're about to open very soon. Having gone to Africa a number of times, I discovered that Ethiopia was the birthplace of coffee. Ethiopia is the latter name of Abyssinia. So Abyssinia is the historical name, or the first name of Ethiopia. That sparked my interest to know that this is a product that's from what I consider the motherland. So I got interested in coffee, specialty coffee at that point. And because I've been a musician for so many years, and incorporate also jazz in the equation as well. What makes this place unique is that not only do we have coffee, great coffee, specialty coffee, food, but we have entertainment, we have live entertainment, and we have ambience of entertainment, jazz throughout the day. So it's a place you can come, sit down, relax. We also have a community room where for special events, if you have meetings and so forth. But I think what really makes it unique is that we have our coffee division where we roast specialty coffee, roast coffee for our customers while they're awake. We're planning to open February 22nd will be the opening day, and so we'll be open from that point on. There'll be live entertainment. Also in the future, we'll also be having spoken word night as some stepping for people that want to learn how to step. We're hiring, and so we're looking for individuals that are willing to learn, great personality, and we're interested in people to apply. If you're interested in working, we're open to see how we can bring you on aboard our team. I've been a musician for over 50 years, so I support the arts 100%, whether it's theater or performing. Played a part with the Milwaukee Rep and playing before some events downtown. I've had a trio that's did some pre-events for the shows. I've also hosted some different sessions at the downtown location where We had some representatives of shows come by and spend time with us as well. I'd like to congratulate the Milwaukee rep for their part in their doing of Black History programming and all the things that they've done in the community to make it strong, and all the work that they do with the theater here in Milwaukee. I'm so blessed, I have to say, is that one of my daughters is part of the team, the Milwaukee rep team. As well, I'm proud to serve as a partner in 2021, being a partner with the Milwaukee rep.
Wow, that's your It all makes sense now, Queen. It all makes sense. It's beautiful.
I am a proud daughter. I have to say it. I am so excited about Sam's Place. I'm just going to take a moment of personal privilege to say that it is the perfect culmination of all the things that my dad loves, all of his passion points: jazz, coffee, travel, community gathering. So I am inviting those of you who are near and far to come to Sam's Place. And thank you, Sam's Place, for being a partner with us tonight.
Yay!
Yay!
Bravo, Daddy!
So we are getting ready for our second panel. Rajendra, are you inspired tonight?
I am so inspired. I literally feel like I'm floating because I'm so encouraged, not just by the conversation of now, but the conversation that it's leading towards everyone when we get off, when they're in their homes talking about Milwaukee and Black arts and Sam's Place. Like, it's all connected. What about you, Tammy?
I continue to be inspired. I mean, this is work that's near and dear to my heart. I do not claim to be an artist or creative, but man, I am deeply entrenched in this space with this theater, but also collectively with all of the folks who are doing great work in this community. So I am so inspired, and we're going to keep the conversation going by welcoming our second panel, starting off with Jade Sharon of 3011 by Jade Sharon. Chike Johnson of Cheeks Films, welcoming him to our panel discussion.
Hey, Rajendra. Hi, Tammy.
Hey, Chike. Dr. Dante Mcfadden of Black Lens at Milwaukee Film. Hey, Dante.
Everyone.
And finally, certainly not last, but Sherry Williams Pannell of Brownsville Arts Ensemble. Welcome to all the people tonight.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
So glad to have all of you, friends, and glad that you are spending some time with us tonight.
We are so honored to have all of you. We just had a fantastic conversation with your colleagues and friends and family members for some of you. And we're just so excited to continue the conversation. So on behalf of Milwaukee Rep, thank you for doing the work that you continue to do and for honoring the ancestors through your art and through your service. You make us all stand a little taller. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Tammy has the first question, I believe,
well,
which is going to be where we want each of you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your mission, your organization, and what you do. And Chike, let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Chike Johnson. I'm a native Milwaukeean. I'm a natural. I'm an actor by profession, but last year I started a small film company called Cheeks Films to kind of bring about films, to be a part of that group of filmmakers that want to create film from the Black perspective.
Excellent. Jade?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jade Sharon, born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Choreographer, filmmaker, and assistant professor at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn, New York. And my mission is to use my art as ministry.
Dante.
Greetings, good people. Dr. Dante Mcfadden. Tonight I'm wearing my Black Lens hat. I serve as the programmer for that program for Milwaukee Film.
And Queen Sherry, looking so Nubian tonight. The gods love Nubia. I love it.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Sherry Williams Pannell. I want to say, first of all, thank you to every member of the panel and to Milwaukee Rep for bringing us all together. Thank you so much, Tammy and Rajendra. I am so honored to serve as the artistic director for Brownsville Arts Ensemble, where we choose to tell the story of Black Americans. We want to develop and create plays and musicals that share our story in an authentic manner. We also choose to develop the local talent here to help in the telling of that story, be they the playwrights, the actors, the theater makers. We want to give an opportunity to our people in our own city, the opportunity to tell our stories.
Amen. And Tammy, I believe you have the first question for the panel.
I do. So let's get it started. And I think, I'm going to start this question with Dante because I think I will ask this question for all of you. And we started to talk a little bit about this in the first panel, creating that pipeline. And Sherry, you just talked about building on the talent that is here. And so what advice would you offer to an emerging theater maker or filmmaker, since you are representing Black Lens tonight? So advice, wisdom that you would offer someone who is emerging in theater or film.
I would say really study the craft. And when I say study the craft, I mean that in multiple ways, in terms of understanding how cinematography works, understanding how editing works, understanding how different types of storytelling works, whether we're talking about linear storytelling or whether we're talking about more experimental storytelling. Also, understanding if you're working with actors, if you're dealing with fictional narratives, really understanding how to get actors to get the best performance out of them possible. And then with regards to documentary, really studying the importance of research, understanding the importance of interviewing and asking the right questions to get the information that your audience needs to know. And one other thing that I would add is to understand the history of filmmaking and to also start small, write a one-act script or write a small achievement. Something that you could start on your phone and make into a 5-minute production. And as you gain more access to funds, resources, where you can expand that to a feature-length film or even like a half-hour film, don't try to do it all at once. Take small steps and you'll get to where you need to go.
I think that's powerful. The wisdom of know your craft, do the research, be knowledgeable. Sherry, what would you say to, an emerging theater maker of color? What advice, what counsel?
I think you could take the information that Brother Dante just shared and apply that to theater. And I can tell you that Brownsville Arts Ensemble offered classes, acting classes, opportunities for young playwrights, emerging playwrights to work with those veterans in the Black theater community here in Milwaukee. In fact, Chike Johnson and I, we shared the responsibility of shepherding some young playwrights a few years ago when Brownsville Arts Ensemble was founded back in 2013, that resulted in a mini festival of new work that was hosted at First Stage. So not only providing an opportunity for people to study, but then for the community to come together and to hear and celebrate them. So it's not just a lab, but it becomes an opportunity for performance. We used the talents of actors in our community to give voice to those characters. And I can say for some, this has provided an opportunity for them to springboard into even greater writing. And I'm very proud of that little kernel that was planted that has resulted in some nice work here in our own city.
seizing those opportunities. I love it. Chike, what say you? Advice or counsel?
Don't wait. Move forward. If that's what you want to do, go for it. You know, there's so much information out there nowadays. That's what I did. You know, I said I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I started. And as Dante and Miss Sherry said, you know, I did my research. I went online. There's a plethora of information, and you can almost go to school online for free with so much. There's so much information out there. Don't wait for somebody to give you a chance. Make your own chance. Start writing that script. I don't care if it's not good. Write it anyway and do it. If it's only a page, like Dante said, write it, shoot it. And you'll slowly start to gain momentum. You'll slowly start to learn more. It takes time to be good. And I'm still in the learning phase. I started last summer. I wrote a page monologue. I went out by myself, I shot it by myself, and I edited it by myself. And I learned so much from that the next project got better, up until the point where I was able to shoot my first short. And Miss Sherry was actually one of the characters in it, one of the actors in it, excuse me. Don't wait. Don't wait. Start moving. You want to be an actor? Fine. Find some place to go act. And if you can't find any place, pick up a script. Read scripts until you find something that you like, and put it on with a couple of friends. If you can't find friends, do it yourself. Do a one-man show or one-woman show. It doesn't matter. Just start. That's the biggest thing for me, is stop talking about it and start.
I love it, Chike. Do it. Do it now. Don't wait. And Jade, I know a little bit about your story of taking a leap of faith, not waiting. Advice or counseling, please weave in what you've been working on for a little bit of time.
First, I want to say I'm so honored to be on the same panel as Dr. Sherry. Hi. And to be around such seasoned artists. I'm what you consider still kind of early career emerging artist myself. And I think I'm going to go along the lines of Chike, where is don't be afraid to curate your own shows. I think sometimes we as artists are taught that we need to get in these big publications, but don't negate the fact that if all you have as an audience is your auntie and your cousins and your best friends down the block, you perform for them. You create theater with them. You create your work. You cast your friends in your projects. You do what you know to do, and you start creating the work. And then, like they said, you will get better with your script. I think also what has helped me is I'm a dancer first and foremost. So approaching any medium with who I am authentically as a mover. So when I look at a script, I'm looking at it from my lens as a choreographer and as a dancer, and I'm approaching it in that way. And so I'm really creating from what I know in that way. It makes it authentic.
Beautiful. Thank you all. You know, it's so interesting because one of the things that is connecting all of what you guys said tonight is that do not wait, and don't wait for anyone to pull the chair out for you. Like literally, it is, as James Baldwin would say, it's been bought and paid for. Pick up your crown. And so it's just so exciting to see that connection between all of you. You know, we often talk as descendants of slaves and kings and queens in Africa about our gifts. Susie Laurie Parks talks about it being in your blood. It's in the blood. In your gifts are a reflection of your passion. How are your passions demonstrated in your art? I'm going to repeat that one more time. If your gifts are a reflection of your passion, which we know as artists, that's our mojo. How are your passions demonstrated in your art? And let's go backwards this time. Jade, you're up first, sister.
My passion is demonstrated in my arts because the process of making the thing is just as important as the product. So when I am creating the film, when I'm creating the dance concert, the work, my rehearsal process, how I empower my cast, my dancers, my actors is important. are they leaving with something every day after rehearsal? Am I leading them to a destination? Because again, tying in that ministry. So it's not just about making this great art, but it's about the process of making that art so that it means something to me. And I think that is the way that my passion is demonstrated in my art making.
Excellent. Thank you, Queen. Chike, my friend.
Yes, that's a good question. I was sitting here thinking about it. How is my passion reflected in my art? And I think I try to be as truthful as possible in my art. My passion to be honest, to be truthful, like I said, and to work hard at something and not be scared to take on challenges is my passion. I'm not sure if this is answering good, but it is a part of me, and so I drag that into everything that I do. Is you have to work hard at it. It's not going to come easy, and that working hard at it, at the end you may fail. It doesn't matter, but you worked hard at it. As an actor, being truthful to the character, always bringing that truth from the script. And as a director or a filmmaker, making sure that I'm being truthful to what the playwright, or excuse me, the screenwriter wrote down. And you know, if you're not truthful to stuff, people know it right away. They see it right away. Yeah, you know, they'll pull it out. I love showing things to young people because young people are really good at pulling out BS.
Yeah.
You know, like, nah, that ain't good. And they don't even have to articulate it. All they have to say, they'll look at it and be like, that's BS.
Yeah.
So I try that's the best way I can answer your question at this moment, because that's a great question. I'm gonna have to actually sit and think about that question for a while. That's a great question.
Oprah taught me well. I'm a next generation. She taught me well.
Oprah's great.
and TK, I've got to say this, man. It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a minute, but I just spoke to your lovely wife, and my God, I can listen to you read the telephone book, my friend. You have that James Earl Jones gift, brother. I mean, what a gift. I can literally just sit here like, read the phone book, brother. It's amazing.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Queen Sherry, your thoughts.
I love what my little sister Jade had to say, and Brother Chike. But I also believe that in embracing the passion is in passing it on to young people. I love mentoring and cultivating the art in the children. For 10 years, I volunteered with African American Children's Theater as an educator. I've taught at First Stage. Right now, I am the area head for musical theater at the University of Wisconsin Peck School of the Arts here in Milwaukee. And I believe in investing the time in young people, and also making sure that they have the best to create the art with. They shouldn't get the leftovers, but they deserve to be in a beautiful space to create the art, to have the equipment they need to create the art, to be able to work with the best text, which is another reason why I love the August Wilson monologue competition, because you're working with the best text to learn through. And also working with my church. There again, working with elders through the drama program at Calvary Baptist Church. So sharing what I have learned, what I have experienced, how I have been blessed, passing that on to the young and sharing it with people who are my age and older, so that the stories continue to live on through them and live in the present through the elders.
I love that. It's all a circle, the continuum, the ebb and flow. Dr. Mcfadden, your thoughts?
Yes, some profound things shared from the panel that I'm honored to be on. And, with Professor Pannell had noted about the Peck School of the Arts, Chike and I are graduates of the Peck School of the Arts at UW Milwaukee. To answer your question, I think, passion is shown through energy, through time, through focus and concentration. And that's what contributes to the result of whatever it is that you produce. I could even say that with my full-time job at Marquette University, I work in the Education Opportunity Program. I direct the McNair Scholars Program. And the time that I put into creating the best experience for the students, to learn the importance of research, to instill in them the confidence to produce a research project, whether it's getting it off the ground or completing it all the way through, and then also getting them to understand the importance of advancing their education beyond the bachelor's degree, looking at masters, looking at doctoral programs, and really not just seeing themselves as someone who's just happy to be there, but someone who really can bring something to that experience, who can really bring something to the scholarly conversation. I apply that to Black Lens as well, just looking to see what films are out there, what shorts, what features that's playing at American Black Film Festival or the Black Star Film Festival or Pan-African Film Festival. And what can I do to take those films showing in Miami, showing in LA, showing in Philadelphia, and bring them to Milwaukee so that we can be, our audiences here in this city can be part of the conversation of those films. And then on top of that, creating panels to not only just talk about the films, but talk about relevant topics is really important, whether we're doing it in person or whether we're doing it in the virtual space. Last week, we had the honor of having Chike to talk about Girl Dads. It was surrounding around the film Junebug, and he made some profound contributions to that conversation. So, the passion is on the art comes from focusing on what you contribute, focusing on the time of what you produce, and also making sure that the audience that you're trying to satisfy is appreciative of it.
It's amazing because for those who are watching, we just connected as a group of 6 people, but there's such a sweet spirit among Black people in the world because we know where we come from. And we're able to use where we've come from and the richness of our history to propel us forward. And not only us, take our communities. And that's what I hear a common theme in this multi-generational conversation about us propelling forward. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is such a great conversation. And I think Dante, talking about the collaborative spirit of what Black Lens does as part of Milwaukee Film, how we share. There is a sharing of stories that get told in Milwaukee. And I think about, as I look around on this panel and see my connection to each of you, I can't help but I have to lift that I was a board member of Brownsville Arts Ensemble, and I'm a current Black Lens Council member, and I was connected to Jay with Signature Dance. And Chike is my brother. And 4 years ago, we had at my Speakers Bureau, we launched 4 years ago, and we brought in Dr. Steve Perry, and we hosted an event at the Quadracci Powerhouse. And Chike graciously agreed to open that night. And it just was a powerful opening to just a really great experience. So as we think about that collective, our community together, the power of collaboration. And so I want you all to think about how collaboration is utilized in your, in your space, in your craft, in your organization. What is the power of collaboration? I think that's what makes Milwaukee strong, is when we have strong collaborations, there's sometimes an absence of collaboration, and sometimes we do things very siloed. But when there's when we are an expression of collaborative minds together, powerful things can happen. And so I want to open that up. And Chike, maybe I'll start with you, since I shouted my brother out of what he did several years ago. He is just an amazing artist. So Chike, talk about that, please.
Collaboration, I think you said it, Tammy, it makes us all stronger. I could have not done my short film if Miss Sherry had asked me for $1 million to be in it. If Malkia hadn't agreed to do it, it just makes whatever project you're on, as long as everybody's dedicated to that project, it makes it so much better. It's not you carrying the boulder up the hill, it's us carrying the boulder up the hill. And that's what it is, community. I think you said it. I think you said it best. It's community just makes you strong. And sometimes it's hard to find community. And sometimes we neglect community, or we take it for granted. But we all have to know that we're strong because of us. We make each other strong. I don't make myself strong by myself. It's one of those cliche sayings that if a tree falls in the forest, kind of things. It's who cares if you're great, if nobody's there to push you up or hold you up or support you, then you're really nothing. And so it's always community for me.
I love that. The power of community is so hard in this virtual environment, especially for me, because, I'm a part of this community that's call and response. So I'm like, yes, amen, but I need to stay behind the mute button so everybody can hear. But I'm like, yes. So just know that is happening behind these muted mics. There is an amen corner. So Jay, I'm going to pass it to you. Power of collaboration. Where do you see that as part of the work that you're doing every day?
Right. So collaboration is really important, but I think sometimes people confuse collaboration with just exchanging services. But I think it's something when folks come together to make one vision come to life. So like, for example, this summer, during the midst of the pandemic, I was able to shoot a Black woman superhero dance film right in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And to be able to go to the creative corridor and use their space, and to be able to go to the Alice Garden, and they allow me to use their space for free, and to be able to have my dancers and use signature dance space. And sometimes it can be difficult because I'm back and forth out of Milwaukee. I'm from Milwaukee, born and raised, but I work in different places. So it can feel isolating. But to know that every time I come home, I have resources and people who lift me up, as well as I pour back into them. So I think that collaboration, like everyone has already said, is key, but also just being able to be behind the scene to push someone's vision forward at the time, I think is really important. It's a major key in collaborating with others.
You have said a word tonight about supporting vision, because that is key when you are collaborating, is collectively working towards one agenda. I was trying to figure out between Sherry and Dante, who should I go to next, because both of them could, preach a sermon on the power of collaboration as they are doing this work. So why don't I defer to my sister Sherry, and then Dante, you bring it on home after Sherry.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I am a native Milwaukeean, Milwaukee born and bred, and have grown up in the theater here in Milwaukee. I can tell you that without the support, the collaborative spirit of the theater companies, both in the Black theater companies as well as the other theater companies that exist here in this city, we would not be able to do what we do. And I don't just mean Black theater companies. I'm talking about all the way around, because we are often exchanging ideas, sharing of resources. I'll give you an example. First of all, being under the umbrella of Black Arts MKE has opened up an opportunity for advancement in grantsmanship with the leadership of Barbara Wanzo. And I'm thinking about how Empower Lights, Camera, Soul, and Brownsville Arts Ensemble are under this umbrella where we are sharing the wonderful doors that have been opened through grantsmanship with Black Arts MKE. When Brownsville Arts Ensemble produced one of the Pearl Clay plays, and it's a period piece, we needed costumes that looked as wonderful as the set that had been designed for us. I was able, through the long-term relationship I've had with First Stage, to say, look, we have these tiny actors. We know that they can fit those costumes that you have over there. They said, Sherry, come, bring your costume designer. Come, get what you need. To get it for free? No, but at such a discount, it might as well have been. Just the love, the exchange, the support that we've received from the Milwaukee Repertory Theater, from Skylight Music Theater, when we needed to make sure we want the quality of our productions to match the quality of the writing, the texts that we're working with. And I am so grateful for that spirit of collaboration. And it's not competition. It truly is, when your theater company looks good, it makes my theater company look good. We want the quality to be high, no matter which group is presenting the play, the musical, the opera. We want everyone to shine, because when Milwaukee shines, it's good for all of us.
Yes, when Milwaukee shines, it is good for all of us. Thank you, Sherry. Dante, what would you say around collaboration?
Sister Jade had noted that people often confuse collaboration with exchange of services. People often confuse collaboration with uniformity as well. It's not about everybody doing the same thing. It's about everyone contributing their unique gifts towards a unified vision, because collaboration, it really comes down to building relationships and creating the kind of relationships that are going to challenge you, that are going to push you to bring the best product forward. Because if you just have yes people around, that's not collaboration. That's compliance, and compliance often results in a weak product. And film is a collaborative medium by nature, simply because you have the director and the producers who are pretty much in charge of the project. I don't want to say the CEOs, because I don't want to incorporate corporate metaphors into this, but you have the people who are the cinematographers, you have the editor, you have the screenwriter, you have the performers, you have the people in charge of lighting, and then in post-production, I mentioned the editor, you also have someone who's going to provide the score. There's just so many things that are happening at the pre-production, production, and post-production stage, that relationships, skills, expertise that people are contributing to, they all what make the final product happen, and they all are what make the final product so worthwhile, a worthwhile experience. Worst case scenario, you learn from those collaborations, from what you went wrong, and you take that to the next project. One last thing I'll say about collaboration is that in the creative process, especially as you're conceiving the idea, if you're doing it by yourself, the isolation can be quite intense. And, if you have a collaboration, that's vibrant, that's, built on, strong spirit, with people who are supportive of one another and are challenging one another to do the best possible, that's the reward for, that intense isolating process that you go through.
That's beautiful.
Dante, you have, listen, it's a whole word that has been shared about excellence and vision, and that it is not about sort of a singular, or we're all doing the same thing, but a multitude of gifts. And it is really the power of that collaboration. Thank you all. Honestly, Rajendra, I'm like, can we stay here for about another half hour and talk about this? But we have promised the people that we will end pretty soon.
Yes,
so I'll pass it over to you, brother, for our final question.
Yeah, but I do want to just say that if wisdom is air, you have filled us so much tonight that we are floating above the earth. It really is just so beautiful to hear these pearls of wisdom. And I know that there are young people who are sitting in the cheap seats of life who don't believe that it is possible to have a life in the theater or in film, who will be inspired by you tonight. I know this, that you will inspire and maybe even save a life by your presence. So that is part of why we say Black Lives Matter, because we look to each other for our air. And that is what you have been tonight for so many. So thank you for that. My final question for each of you is, there's a quote that I love from Dr. Cornel West, who says, over the last 5 years, Black Americans have lived each year 100 years of human history. We have been through so much since the first slave stepped on this country, to seeing a Black woman become vice president of the United States. The journey was not guaranteed, but we are living it every day. And I want to know from each of you, in that spirit, what is your hope? What is your dream for the future of the American theater or the film industry? What is your hope and what is your dream for the American theater and for the film and television industry? And we're going to start with Sister Jade.
Wow, my hope would be that there are more resources for startup visionary for artists who are trying to do their initial projects, the beginning, the seed projects. I don't think there's a lot of, or I haven't experienced a lot of funding for that. They typically need to be more fleshed out, or it's like you kind of got to go up the rank a little bit. And then my dream would just to be more representation, particularly of Black women directors, screenwriters, just more Black women involved in film and theater.
Thank you, Jade. Dr. Mcfadden.
So hope, from my standpoint, is in multiple tentacles. With regards to Black lens, we're about showcasing the work of Black filmmakers. We're about bringing forth stories, that are targeted towards Black audiences. My hope is that, our team, we build upon the work that we did for the first 7 years and continue that on, with the quality of films we show, the quality of conversations that we have, and then also just building stronger ties with the community of either, Black filmmaker-centered programs within film festivals, or Black film festivals all across the country and all over the world. And the last thing that I'll say is that the energy coming from Black filmmakers right now is beyond amazing. I saw Judas and the Black Messiah last night. My goodness. And a few weeks ago, I saw One Night in Miami. Man. And the Five Bloods, I could go on and on. So, just to point out a few examples, Regina King, Shaka King, Spike Lee, documentary filmmakers like Yoruba Richin, they are just, pulling out quality work. And I think it's important for, whether you're a filmmaker or whether you're someone who's just consuming these stories, just build upon that energy and don't take it for granted.
Thank you, brother. Queen Sherry.
My hope is that we continue to unearth the stories that have not been told before. And one of my dreams is that in our telling of our stories, that we also, along with those stories of struggle and pain, find those stories of joy and triumph, so that our young people will be encouraged and know that they have a future.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful. And King Chike, my friend, the hope and the dream, all in you and Malkia, and just all the wonderful accomplishments you have achieved. I am so proud, Chike, to hear that you are owning your intellectual property, that you are sitting in the chair, and that you are doing it unapologetically. So you make me proud to spell my name, Blackman, my friend. Yes, you do. And you have the final word tonight as we end this Black History Month celebration, Chike.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. Like Dante, I have a lot of hopes. I think one of the hopes would be that I can take Cheeks Films and move it to a place where I'm not only able to hire Black actors and producers and cameramen and soundmen and all the people that come with the community as we talked with, but give jobs as well and teach, being able to bring in the young and show them, hey, this is the way to go. I think one of the things that I want to make sure is that I always reach back. And so as I build, I'm pulling from my community to keep that foundation strong, and to keep us moving forward. That's a hope that I continuously move forward, but I'm always pulling with me. If I think I can't think of his name right now, but if I'm eating, everybody's eating, kind of thing. My dream is that there are more diverse types of films that are being, and it's happening. I just hope it keeps going. I'm a sci-fi guy. I love sci-fi. I just want to see a diverse amount of Black film out there. I want to see all. I want to touch everything, and I want to see Black people touching everything, because we're more than just one thing. And it's happening. It's slowly happening, and that's what I love that. For theater, I think I just want I want people to be able to live a life. Now, this is going into something else. I want actors and people who of all parts of theater to be able to live a regular life. Sometimes I sit back and I talk with Malkia and I say, if I was a doctor, if I was a lawyer, at this point in my career, I would be making a certain amount of money. And I think we forget, and the pandemic has definitely shown how actors, we are artists in general, are dependent on what is given to us. But I think I wish there was something that was more solid. So you say, this is what I do. I have health insurance. I don't have to worry about health insurance. I have I can buy a home. I can do all the things that normal people do, because people come and see shows and they go, oh, you were so great. And then you walk and then you get a paycheck, and the paycheck does not represent what you've given the audience, what you've given the world. And I would like to see more of a balance of that for everybody. That's my dream.
Amen, Chike. And I have to say, yes, right? The church say amen to that. And Chike, I want to just share one quote. I heard this quote from Whoopi Goldberg in regards to sci-fi. She was asked, why do you love sci-fi? Why do you love Star Trek? Why do you love, all these wonderful shows? And why did you end up doing Star Trek? And she said, because I got to see that Black people existed in the future. As a little girl growing up in a very poor part of New York City, low income, seeing Ahura reminded me that Black women will go on in the future. So I thank you for being, all of you, for being the present and the future of the American theater, of the film industry, and for speaking your truth to power. You make us all stand taller. Tammy?
Just a hearty thanks for pouring into this all, for filling my cup, And I'm sure those that are watching are feeling the same way. So I want to just again thank Lakita, Katina, DeMonte, Malkia, Jade, Chike, Dante, Sherry, all of you, and all of you that are watching this evening. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all that has been shared in honor of Black History Month. Rajendra?
Each Monday through February, Milwaukee Repertory Theater will host and celebrate honoring Black History Month and artists. So please join us again. Next week, we will be celebrating the work of the great August Wilson. You can find more information at www.milwaukeerep.com. And while you're there, please make sure and check out the grand opening of Sam's Place on March 6th.
Grand opening on March 6th. We're actually open on February 22nd. So starting on the 22nd, the doors will be open. A final thank you to our media sponsor, 88.9 Radio Milwaukee. We will see you all on next week, Monday. And again, good night.
Good night and Godspeed. Thank you, panelists. Woo!